Okay, well, my name is Mike Mcgann. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was a sergeant, ended up a corporal, and then different things. We have differences of opinion. What else?
Oh, why did you decide to join the service?
Well, at the time, there was a draft on, and everyone else that I was associated with around at that time was drafted, going in the service. And actually, I think I was 19 when I went in, and I just got tired of, looking at all these things. And having been we had a semi-pro football team here in Woburn and everything, you got that urge, to keep active and everything. And that was my major concern.
So you were 19 when you joined?
Yeah, I was 19.
19. What were you doing before you joined the service?
I was working for HP Hood Milk Company as a mechanic, going up the ranks as a mechanic in Charlestown.
How did your parents feel about you joining the service?
Well, I had two brothers then, and they were already in, so they had to sign my papers at that time. I wasn't drafted or anything; they had to sign your papers.
Yeah.
Unless you went, but they were agreeable to the situation.
Where did you do your basic training?
Parris Island, Carolina, South Carolina.
Was there any cultural shock on your part meeting people from all over the country?
Not a cultural shock, but joining the Marines and going through boot camp in the Marines is a cultural shock in itself. You learn pretty fast the first day what life is all about.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
You think twice.
Any interesting stories or anything that stands out from basic training?
No, not from basic training, but basic training at that time was quite rugged. You didn't have rules and regulations like you did now. If you got out of line, the sergeant would haul off on swat one. That was just common every day. And it was kind of rugged, kind of down. But after we were there 3 months in basic training, but after a week or so, you learn to you get in the groove, and you weren't allowed to laugh or anything like that. That was strictly against the rules. So no matter what happened, you had to wait till at nighttime when the drill sergeant was around and have a laugh.
While with the Marines, so did you have a special task that you were in charge of?
Well, I was for some time in charge of maintenance on tanks and so forth. And then I moved up into tank commander position and within training all the new fellas that come over, and in gunnery and everything that's associated. I taught them all how to drive, and I used to give courses in maintaining a tank and so forth. If something happened to you in the battlefield or something that you could perhaps take care of yourself, without getting killed.
Definitely.
So what zone of combat did you see in action? You were mainly in the Pacific, you mentioned, right?
The what?
You were in the Pacific.
Yeah.
That was the zone you were in?
Yeah.
Just maybe the islands you're involved in, the battles you're involved in?
Well, the three battles that my company was mainly in was the Marshall Islands, and then Guam, and then Okinawa. Because that takes up quite a bit of time, you're in there several months each.
So the general time period that you saw action was?
From 43 to 45.
Did you have to conquer any hatred directed towards the Japanese after the war, or like during the war?
No, not after the war. I never really liked them because we had seen, in saw displays of it, actual displays of their atrocities, and I never respected them for what they did and what they maybe the children at those stores shouldn't be blamed for it, but, you know, you have a feeling there. After you see some of the things, the way they treated people, especially in Okinawa, they desecrated the civilians and the children. It was a horror show, really. When the night they dropped the atom bomb, our first atom bomb, I was in a hospital in Hawaii, and the night they dropped the bomb, they told us to stay up late if there was something news coming on. And they said they had dropped the atom bomb. And really, I cried. I couldn't believe it, because you remembered all these little kids who you saw, and they always had their eyes were coming out. They didn't have any idea in the world what was going on, you know. They were in a static sense. It was terrible, and I thought it was awful that they were killed. You know, all these innocent little kids that really had nothing to do with warfare or anything like that.
Do you think the war in the Pacific was a racist war? Both sides, us against Japanese, Japanese against us. I know you were just mentioning some of the atrocities that you saw, but do you consider it all a racist war?
I didn't quite get it.
Did I think the war in the Pacific was a racist war in any way?
No,
Either side against
no,
one
I don't,
another?
no, I don't think that was at all. No.
Okay. All right.
What was your most dangerous experience in combat?
Dangerous experience? Well, mostly going ashore or something was really something, you know, when you were in. But the nighttime was the really worst of it all, you know, because you couldn't see anything, and all your fighting, all your movement came at night, you know, in general rule. And when things got heated up, they would call for flares, and the destroyers offshore would fire a shot in, and the parachute would open up in the air, and a flare would come down. The flare actually crackles, you know, and it wasn't a steady light. It was, and everything you saw moved. Everything moved. No matter what, it was a branch in a tree, it would be a guy coming. Everyone.
You're shooting at everything.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if you want to expand a little bit on your combat experiences, and I know you had mentioned a few stories before about landing on the beaches and just what it was like to experience things like that.
Well, yeah, and we were a little different being in one of my experiences escorting. We escorted sometimes different units in, you know, and where they didn't have a regular light tank, we would act in that capacity. And we've had people come in and step on a landmine, a fellow beside them blow both his legs right off of him. It's reality and, you know, something. And also at night on Guam and Okinawa, the Japanese people, or the Okinawans at that time, would try to escape from where they were, you know, and they'd be running through, and of course they're chatting in Japanese or something foreign to what you knew, and a lot of them got killed by our own troops because you just couldn't distinguish who they were at nighttime, you know.
You mentioned that you saw a person that was injured. Did you yourself incur any injuries during the course of the war?
Oh yeah, I did. I was from Okinawa, I was in a hospital for a total of 8 months after being wounded. In fact, I was in for 4 years. That was the enlistment thing, and I got out in 3 years and 7 months or 8 months. You know, instead of keeping me, you couldn't do much, so they didn't give you a discharge.
Why don't you tell that story, Mike, about how you got hurt?
I was going to ask you.
Cut me out, Jeff.
Yeah, you want to tell us the story about how you got wounded?
Oh, okay.
That'd be a good story to tell.
Yeah, I was standing, not in a lull thing, but during proceedings with all of our own big engagement going on with, I said, 1,400 ships, all with hundreds of guns on each one, and I'm firing at 600 and some odd planes that came in, all kamikaze planes. And I've forgotten now which battleship, the ships I saw actually hit in Nevada. something like that, and go on fire and go down. And all of this went on. But we were ashore overlooking all of this thing that's going on when I was standing on the tank taking orders for something that they wanted done, and a shell hit the turret of the tank, my tank, and blew myself and another tanker with me. We blew us right off in the tank. And at that time we were taken to the beach, put in a Red Cross tent, and got strafed by a Japanese plane, and got off of that, went out, and were attempting to get onto the USS Relief, which was a hospital ship stationed there, when that was also put under a Japanese attack of a kamikaze plane, and we accidentally got dropped in the water, left there, and the Relief took off, fearing to get hit again.
Wow.
And do you still have any shrapnel?
Oh yes, I still have shrapnel in me. For the first few years after I got hit, the shrapnel actually, if it's small pieces, say like a piece of rice or something, it would actually work itself out all over your body. Come on in.
Wow.
Come on, you'd be going and scratch something, you can feel it, and in a couple of days the pieces would come out. It'd come out on your legs. Used to get caught in my pant leg. You'd be walking down the street and the damn thing would catch in your pant leg. But hundreds of them come out of you. But I still have quite a few. I have several one large piece right near my hip joint, and they never took it out because they said it was laying beside a nerve, and they were afraid to touch anything that lose a leg or something like that.
Do you feel that your superior officers were trustworthy, knowledgeable, and inspiring?
Well, don't forget, all your officers at that time, I think that if you were 24 years old, you'd be a grandfather.
Yeah.
You know, they were all young.
Yep.
They were inexperienced, so you learn to go along with it. That's why I ended up a corporal, because I didn't go along with some of that. My father used to write me letters. He called me Mister, because he didn't know what rank I was going to be. But nothing, you know, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I just didn't take any bull from nobody.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Definitely. Is there any misconceptions that American people had about World War II? Can you compare it to possibly some television show that's relevant to today's crowd?
Well, at that time, we were fighting for our own country, your own invasion of your own country, and you were standing up for your own rights. What we're into today, we're fighting someone else's religious wars or something, which actually don't coincide with. They don't mean anything to us in actuality, you know. Mm-hmm. But at that time, we were fighting for our own existence, you might say, you know, which could have happened had the Japanese known they had defeated us so much in Pearl Harbor and so forth. They could have walked right into this country. But there was a different attitude. Plus the fact that what they call, at that time, or now they call them the greatest generation, you had a different thinking between young people than you would have today. You know, we were in the midst of a depression. You didn't have anything, you didn't own anything, and you were in a different, you looked at things with a different light, I think, you know.
Right.
You were looking for your own existence, not someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So, can you compare what you saw on a show like the Pacific that's on now? Does that do a good job portraying the basics of what it was like to be?
Well, yeah, it shows. I think they're somewhat blown out of proportions in a lot of it.
Right.
But it does show an aspect of what actually people, what we lived with at that time. Terrific heat, 120 at 8 o'clock in the morning, and every day it would in the afternoon would be a torrential downpour, always, and everything was mud. You were mud, heat, mosquitoes, and you only had one pair of boots and one pair of shoes, and they never dried up. You know, all the time I would go there, you were just in wet boots or anything. You lived a little different existence, mosquitoes and so forth. I had dengue fever. I got dengue fever, which is similar to malaria, only worse. And I had that on Guam in the midst of fighting, and they wanted to evacuate me at that time, and I was staunchly against that, and I stayed, and I don't know how the hell I ever did it, but somehow or other. I remember sleeping on the tank floor with the tank going along, continuing around. So sick, unbelievable.
Do you still carry any animosity towards your old adversaries? Do you still find yourself holding a hatred against like a certain crowd, or any of your experiences like during the course of the war?
No, not really. Not really. What's over is over. Done with.
So overall, how would you sum up the efforts of the Allies in World War II and your own efforts? And
Well, I think everyone done a marvelous job. I don't think you'd be here today without the ferocity of, you know, the way that the people, and we just said the greatest generation, the way that the people fought at that time, there was no holding back. Even though everyone knew they were possibly going to die within a minute, they would still not turn around and run. Everyone went forward. They didn't have any, no scare, no frightening. You had a lot of fellas, you know, that got out of their minds and so forth of what they saw and what they didn't. But actually, great bunch of guys, terrific.
Is there any other stories that you would like to share with us?
So many of them. You can't remember them all. No, not really. I don't think I. No, I don't think anything that would, you know, really.
How did you deal with what you saw? Did you have any recurring memories of that? The bad things you saw when you came back?
Oh yeah, positively. You still do. You still do. You still wake up at night. And,
you do. Yeah.
In the middle of it. As I said, this war in the Pacific, you know.
right.
I just saw one thing of it there one night, and I couldn't sleep for 3 nights.
Wow.
No way.
The show that's on now?
Yeah.
Oh.
And as I say, some of that is, you know, not everything that went on, but it just shows the way you lived, you know. See, for after when you went into a place, an invasion, for maybe 2 months, you didn't eat anything but K rations, and they were a little can about the size of a sardine can. That was it. And inside of it was some kind of a mixture. It all tasted like starch. I don't know what the hell it was, but it all different things. You know, they'd have a flavor on it, but wasn't that at all. And that's what you existed on, was that, a can of that and a couple of hard crackers and a piece of candy that, for Christ's sake, wouldn't melt if you put a blowtorch on it. You know, but that's why, and you didn't eat anything but that until maybe 2 months, you know, after the original thing, when the backup crowd come behind you and they could put up a tent or something and have, and at that, all you ate was Spam. Everything was Spam. There's no refrigeration at that time. So everything that they had to be something that wouldn't spoil, you know, without. So you ate Spam 3 times a day.
What's Spam?
Spam is I haven't eaten it since. Like, you know, it's a slice. It's kind of like a ham, you know.
Canned ham.
Kind of like that, but it's all mixed up. But that's the only thing they could have over there. So every meal was Spam. Or SOS, you know, the chipped beef.
Yep.
Shit on shingles is what they SOS. So everyone would be walking down in the morning with your gear to eat, and they'd say, what do I got? SOS. They'd turn right around and look back again.
Did you lose some good friends, Mike?
Yeah, I lost a lot of friends. We lost I think 1/3 of our entire original company, and lost an awful lot of friends. And that thing I said, we were on Guam, and we were taking mortar shells all night long. It was really something. And this fellow that was with me, they call them foxholes. They weren't foxholes, they were shell holes, you know, from where a shell was going on. And we were in that, and like I said, everything moves, everything, you don't know. But he'd get up to see what was going on and took his head right off. Came back and with no head. So then, some real experience. But that, again, you just take as day-to-day living.
Yeah.
Is there any mementos that you carried throughout the war that helped you like get through the war on a daily basis?
No, other than the fact that we did what we were supposed to do and the way we were supposed to do it. Mm-hmm. We conquered everything that you was set out to do, and never met defeat, never turned around and ran.
Did you carry a good luck charm at all or anything like that?
No, the only thing I ever had with me was a pair of rosary beads. I forget who gave them to me, my mother or someone gave them to me. They were silver, and when I got home they were brass. They were worn out.
Did you know anybody that was on the Western Front in Germany or part of that operation compared to the Pacific? And if so, any differences, any main differences between the two theaters?
No, one of my brothers was in Europe, in the Army, and he'd gone through that.
Yep.
And I think there's a terrific difference in geography of the places. Europe was mostly, sometimes in the wintertime and so forth, and we were in the jungle with, with the heat and the rain, and we used to get the jungle rot, that we call it. You would get just in a condition where you were soaking wet all the time, and then the skin would actually peel right off your face, or any place. Jungle rot. And almost everybody had that. But I don't think they had, they didn't have that, but they had the cold. We had the heat and they had the cold, so I never did quite get the difference between the two, which was easier.
As far as style of fighting and things like that, was there a major difference between
Oh
the
yeah,
two?
I think a terrific difference in the style of fighting. I think they, not always, but fought more of like World War I was, in the lines and maybe not in a trench, but in that same sort of a sequence,
Right.
where we were, mainly come and go, and each one was a little different outfit. You didn't have a great big line. You had 8 men, and each one would advance or fall back.
Smaller scale,
smaller scale situation.
The other thing you hear a lot is the difference between the two. There wasn't really many prisoners taken in the Pacific
not
compared
really.
to the West.
Not really.
To the German.
And our first experience was that they would come at you, a prison, with a white flag, waving a white flag, and they would be coming across the field. So at first everyone fell for that, and they tell the guy to come on. Well, the first fellow that had this white flag would flop on his forwards, down, and he had a machine gun strapped on his back. And the guy behind him would grab the machine gun and he'd wipe you out. So from that day on,
no prisoners.
no.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Interesting. Anything else you guys?
And they didn't surrender anyway, right? I mean, they didn't give up as prisoners that much.
Oh no. Actually, they fought right to the very end. Almost, they would commit suicide before they surrendered. The general group of them. Few of them they took, but not too many.
Anything else?
All set?
All set.
Very good. That was easy.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Mike.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.